2025 is going to be huge for Woodworking Tools. I've got the inside scoop on 5 brands you do not want to ignore. Let's go. So I like to research and keep up with what's coming next in tools, and I've got the inside scoop from various trade shows, as well as diving into some patents from the U.S. Patent Office to figure out what tools are going to be coming out in 2025. I think you're going to be surprised and excited as I am to see what's coming. First on the list is Milwaukee. Now, just because you're not in the Milwaukee platform, you owe it to yourself to watch each one of these tool brands, because a lot of times you'll see similar technology leak into each brand, and you want to know what's coming for your brand. Now, Milwaukee has done a lot over the last couple of years, especially in 2024 for woodworkers. Sneaking in right at the end of 2024, Milwaukee released these M12 sanders, both 5 and 6 inch versions, and I'm going to be testing them over the next several days to see how they perform. Now, I'm very excited about that because Milwaukee has consistently, over the last couple of years, given woodworkers tools that we can use to work faster, safer, and easier. And I love seeing that they just continue to give us brand new tools. It's fantastic. Earlier this year, they released the M12 3-inch sander. I did a full video on that. This is a very, very nice sander, especially if you need a small detail sander, but I am glad to see that they're coming out with these bigger sanders for bigger jobs. And of course, about 2 years ago, we got this, the Milwaukee Track Saw. And it has become one of my favorite track saws along with my Festool. This is one of the better track saws on the market in my opinion, especially for cordless. It has been fantastic. They've done a great job with their first track saw. However, while digging through patents that Milwaukee has been granted, I found this very interesting patent. Now, if you know anything about patents, just because you got a patent on something doesn't mean they're going to produce that item. However, I think they will add this to their track saw. This patent has to deal with how you adjust their track saw. I think this will be implemented in 2025. I have no proof of that. I just think it's going to come out because of how easy it would be to implement on a current existing tool that they already make. And it's already great, but they're just going to make it better. And that is the way you adjust it. Both the depth and the bevel adjustment are in this patent, and I think they're going to implement this to make their track saw even better, possibly even better than Festool's. One of the most exciting and interesting tools that I've seen in a very long time, Milwaukee just got a patent on, and it's like, why didn't any other tool company already patent this? If they have, I haven't seen it. And that is a hard hat with VR goggles built in. And while I think the goggles are cool, I think we're also going to see glasses with this technology built in as well. Why do I think that? First and foremost, look at Meta, or Facebook, aka Meta. They just come out with Ray-Ban Meta glasses that have basic AR built into these glasses, as well as some intelligence built in so you can ask it questions, kind of like you do your Amazon device. So I think this is going to come to the woodworking world as well. Now, I had ChatGPT help me out with some of these renderings, so bear with some of the odd looking things on there, but you'll see how useful these glasses can be in a few of these scenarios. But it should give you some idea of how these VR or AR glasses will be used going forward. Think about the possibilities here with this new technology. You have your hard hat, you have your goggles built in, you put your hard hat on with those goggles. Let's say you're a heavy equipment operator, not even in the woodworking world. What if you're a heavy equipment operator putting a grade on a piece of property? This new technology could literally give you feedback real time on your glasses or right up on a heads-up display to let you know how much you need to take off on your next pass. Or even if you're a crane operator, you know, it's going to give you that telemetry and things that you need to know how far you are away from the ground, how much your load is, all kinds of good stuff. But if you take that and put it in the woodworking world, what if you can load your plans into that and you can see all of your cut lists as you go? Kind of like the Milwaukee digital tape measure that I showed a while back that stores measurements as you go. Think about this incorporated with the Milwaukee tape measure, where you're taking those measurements and it's storing those as you go. You can save them, so you can just, when you get to the miter saw or the table saw, those measurements will just pull up in real time as you make your cuts. I think this is something we're going to see, maybe not all in or all inclusive or fully flushed out in 2025, but I do think we're going to start seeing this stuff creep into the tool world. And I know some people are going to push back on this, but I think that this is going to be a huge benefit for those, especially on job sites and things like that, to keep up with measurements or just to log measurements, or think about putting the glasses on and just taking a quick measurement of the room or the project or anything like that. I think this stuff is going to be absolutely huge in the tool world. Think about this. What if you can look at a board and say, hey, Milwaukee, how long is this board? and it instantly gives you an exact measurement of how that long that is just by you looking at that. That's going to be absolutely awesome. Or imagine if you're sanding a project and you notice you're getting low on sandpaper and you say, hey Milwaukee, order more 120 grit sandpaper, and it orders it from the retailer that you have linked to it, Amazon or wherever you order your stuff from. I think that's going to be huge. Also think about the fact that Milwaukee already has a modular hard hat system called Bolt. And what you have there is where you can put different face shields, different goggles, different hearing protection. And if you start thinking about this stuff, it has a whole product category where you have your hard hat and you have your ear protection and you have your goggles. And all of this stuff can utilize that smart technology. If Milwaukee comes out with this, they're going to crush 2025. So please, Milwaukee, let's see it. I'll be the first one to buy. First in line. Right here. Dibs. I call dibs. Another thing I think would be awesome is if you look at something like cutlistoptimizer.com. So if you don't know what that is, you can go and put in the cuts that you need to make off of a sheet of plywood, and you can put in the size. Typically it's 4x8, but you can put in any size. And then you can tell it that you're going to make these cuts, 24x32 or 10x12 or however many pieces of those, and it will literally optimize the best use of that material so you have little waste. Imagine adding that or something like that into these AR glasses. When you just look at a sheet of plywood, it already knows what you've inputted as your cuts, and it literally just lays out the lines for you and lets you see in real time what the best cuts are going to be to save that material. I think this stuff is going to be massive in the future. Now, how much of it's coming in 2025? Probably not to that extent, but I absolutely can see this in the next few years, especially when you look at the advancement, how fast this stuff is happening with AR. Look at Apple Vision, Meta glasses, like all of that stuff's going to come to the tool world. If you're ready for it or not, it's coming. Just depends on who's comfortable with using that stuff. Now you may think, well, I could just buy the Meta glasses, but are those impact resistant or safety glasses, which was what I think Milwaukee's will be, especially with the goggles, and if they ever come out with AR glasses, safety glasses, I think that would be killer. Now last year I featured a Milwaukee patent video where I showed that they were coming out with what I thought they were coming out with, this new technology that would stop this motor on the router when it was dropped. That didn't happen in 2024, but they just re-upped that or changed that patent a little bit and got a new issue. I think, and I mistakenly thought it was going to be on their big router, the big plunge router. It's going to be, or the patent is for the trim router. I think we're going to see an upgraded trim router this year with that new technology because Bosch just come out with their trim router, first cordless router they've come out with in 100 years. It will stop the motor if it's dropped, but not on the free fall. It's only when it makes impact. DeWALT's safety feature is anti-rotation. So if it detects a rotation, it shuts that motor off. This patent, it specifically mentions free fall. So if you drop the router, as soon as it detects that free fall, it's supposed to shut the motor off. I think that's a better safety feature than the Bosch. The Bosch, it has to impact something. This, if you drop it and try to reach and grab it, natural instinct, it's going to shut the motor off before you can grab a hold of it, which is awesome. I think we'll see that from Milwaukee this year. What do you think? Next, let's talk about their sister brand, TTI brand, RYOBI. I'm a huge fan of RYOBI. I have been for a very long time. I started out buying a RYOBI combo set and was truly impressed by it because of the price and what you're getting. Now, over the last couple of years, few years, RYOBI has been one of the most innovative companies, especially power tool companies on the planet. They just keep pumping out brand new tools all year long. Last year, I don't know the exact number, but there was dozens and dozens of brand new tools from RYOBI. Now they have over 300 tools on their 18-volt platform, and now they're also in the 40-volt platform and lithium-ion tools. They just keep bringing out all this stuff. So looking at 2025 and thinking about what they brought out in 2024, I think, and I've found some stuff that there's going to come in 2025 that's going to be very exciting. First off, RYOBI Link. I have RYOBI Link right behind you there on the wall. I love this tool organization system. It's very, very nice, modular, so you can make it any design or however you need it to make to fit your space. I found in their patent system, and I believe this will come out very soon in 2025, and that is a RYOBI Link workbench that will fold against the wall. Where this is huge is for those who are in limited space, or maybe you have a one-car garage or even a two-car garage, but you're still parking your vehicles in there, but you need a place to work. Imagine being able to fold this workbench down, do your work, and then fold it up out of the way and then park your car. I think this is going to be a massive thing for RYOBI to come out with, and I absolutely think this is coming very soon in 2025, and I have no insider information on that. Just based on what I see, based on some of the speed bench that we reviewed earlier this year, I think that it's very possible and very easy for them to produce this to work with their RYOBI Link wall storage system. Another cool thing I found that I think will absolutely come out in 2025 is RYOBI has patented their own pocket hole jig. There's actually a couple of them here. There's a single pocket hole jig, and then there looks like one that's going to be a dual pocket hole jig. They may not want me telling you about this, but I think this is going to be cool to be able to go to the store and have some competition with KREG and the other pocket hole manufacturers. You can pick up your very own RYOBI one to match all your tools if you're into that sort of thing. Not sure what's different about theirs versus the others, but I'm excited to try it out. Thinking about RYOBI's 40-volt platform, I bought several outdoor tools this year from RYOBI and tried them out. I think they're fantastic. I now use the 40-volt string trimmer. I got rid of my gas one because I got tired of pulling and it not starting. Now I have a battery power one. Check this out. RYOBI has patented their very own robot lawnmower. I think this is awesome. Now I know Husqvarna has one. Maybe Milwaukee, I'm not sure if they have their own robot lawnmower, but as soon as this RYOBI one drops, I'm first in line to buy it. I don't like cutting the grass. Maybe you like cutting the grass. Smelling I don't like it. I would just rather have it done. And so if I can get a robot lawnmower to go out there and cut my grass, let's do it. The number 3 brand I think it would be crazy to ignore in 2025, another brand that is absolutely one of the biggest innovators in woodworking tools is Harvey. Now I did a review of their Harvey bandsaw as well as their tabletop technology that they've come out with that will not rust. Set it in the rain for an hour, let it get rained on, let it dry overnight, no rust. The thing just won't rust. I think it's fantastic. But what's coming in 2025 from Harvey, we've already seen before if you saw the trade show video I did with them at IWF in Atlanta. First and foremost, their new bandsaw is coming out in 2025 or is scheduled to come out in 2025, and it has some very, very unique features on it. The first thing you're going to see, I think, from Harvey is their Big Eye fence coming to the bandsaw. And I'm going to buy one as soon as I can and put it on my Harvey bandsaw. So if you don't know, a few years ago I showed their Harvey Big Eye fence on a table saw. What's great about it, has micro adjustments, has flip down stops so you can do repeatable cuts. It's just an all-around amazing piece of technology that they've come out with as far as fences go on their table saw. That's going to be coming to the bandsaw in 2025, which is very exciting. Another thing you're going to see is a digital display on their new bandsaw that should be coming out in 2025. It's going to show you things like blade tension, blade RPMs, as well as table tilt angle. So you're able to see all of that in real time with that display. You're going to see built-in LED light on this bandsaw, which I think is amazing. Also, there's no more brakes or a manual brake for you to stop the blade. It's going to be automatic, less than 1 second from the time you turn the bandsaw off until it stops. As far as the digital display goes, you'll also be able to input your blade size, and it's going to tell you what tension to be at so that there's no more guesswork. You can set your saw up for optimal performance using this digital display. And on the guide bearing systems on this new bandsaw, you're going to see this micro adjusting system. I can't wait for this. I think it's going to be a huge game changer for bandsaws, and it's one of the coolest things I've seen in bandsaws in years. I'm glad to see Harvey doing this stuff. And on top of that, they're also innovating on their Big Eye fence with a new digital display, and it's called the Big Eye Intelligent Positioner. And what this does is gives you the exact readout of your position from the blade. So if you're 26 inches away from the blade, it's going to let you know that so you can see that in an instant. You can also input different cut values so that you're able to make repeatable cuts, which is fantastic. It's also got a bevel cutting calculator so you know how much to raise your blade up and what angle you're at and all that stuff built into this digital display. I think this is going to be awesome for those who have Harveys or looking to get a Harvey table saw with that Big Eye fence. Next up, DeWALT. We can't forget about DeWALT. They come out with some of the best tools in 2024 that I had the pleasure of reviewing. This is one of them. This is their brand new plunge router with that anti-rotation so it shuts off. I think this is one of the better routers out there on the market. I absolutely love this router. Now, they also come out with a drill with anti-rotation, a new impact. They come out with a lot of new tools for 2024. I think they're going to continue that in 2025 in a few different ways. First and foremost, the DWS 779, it's my miter saw right up there behind that stuff. I've had it since 2017. I think it's one of the better miter saws on the market, but it's also getting a little long in the tooth. I think we're going to see a new miter saw from DeWALT with some improvements. I would love to see one that doesn't have the rails off the back and it's more made with the rails forward, like the Makita, the Festool, or even maybe the Delta Cruiser that has the little knuckle arms or something like that. I think that space saving would be huge. I think it's time for DeWALT to innovate here on this planer. They could do a much better job just keeping up with the Joneses, as they say. So like the Harvey has that new helical head in it, I think the DeWALT should come factory with a helical head. Even if it raises the price a little bit, I think it would be well worth it because it is a much better cutting operation versus the straight knives. And straight knives are kind of yesterday. It's time for them to upgrade this thing, and I think that's something we're going to see in 2025 is a new upgraded planer. Now, I did a couple of videos on the US government basically trying to force or enact a regulation that would make all manufacturers use some type of safety technology or active injury mitigation called AIM on their table saw, so if it detects flesh touching the blade, it shuts the saw off, much like the Sawstop does. Sawstop has agreed to give away their patent that was causing the hang up on this stuff. But then there's a lot of back and forth from the tool companies saying that's not the whole story, like there's other patents. Well, what I find interesting is if you go to the patent office and you search for Sawstop, what you find is, even as of September 12th, they got another patent on detection systems for AIM-enabled power tools. A lot of people think that the patent's going to expire for Sawstop and then all these other companies are going to jump on board. I don't think that's the case, and I don't think that's going to be the case for 2025. Now, there may be some partnerships in there somewhere where, like the Bosch Reacts, who from the research shows that they could have been already be selling these in the US, but they've chosen not to. Kind of interesting, or at least that's what I read. I think that you might see something like that come along, but I don't think it's going to be in mass market. I think that Sawstop's still going to control that safety aspect on their table saws. Whether that's right or not is up to the argument in the comments, but I don't think you're going to see a big push or even the regulation come through this year because there's been so much back and forth in those hearings. I even talked to the CEOs of a couple of these companies, including Sawstop, about all of this stuff. I was able to jump on phone calls with them. I just don't think that this stuff is going to come to pass in 2025. So if you've been waiting around to get us table saw, but you're waiting for Sawstop's patent to expire, I think you can put that to rest, at least for this next year. I don't think you're going to be waiting around for your brand to have Sawstop technology on it. However, there's other ways to put this safety stuff into other tools. Take Milwaukee, for example. I didn't mention this in the Milwaukee segment, but they have a patent that they filed in September of 2024 where you have to have both hands on, say, a handheld bandsaw. It's got touch sensors in there, so it knows that your hand's up front and the back. If one of those hands comes off, it shuts the motor off. Whether you're going to like that or not, who knows? Because I can see instances where you're having to use it one-handed. But there are those type technologies that are being developed, as well as I have seen some flesh detecting patents on handheld saws and things like that. So I think we're going to see more innovation in that area, but not so much on the table saws because of all the legal patent issues that have been plaguing table saws for decades now. After number 5, I do have a couple of tools you should keep an eye on if you're in the market for new power tools. Now, Festool is one of those companies you always have to keep an eye on because they're always innovating as well. And last year we saw this as well. They come out with a dang exoskeleton that literally helps you hold your arms up if you have to work overhead. How awesome is that? They also come out with some new track saws and things like that. Now this year I think we're going to see a new Festool Kapex. The miter saw. I love the miter saw. If it broke today, I would buy another one unless this new one's coming out and I might wait for that. I found a couple of patents on different miter saws and I think what we're going to see is an upgraded Festool Kapex. I don't think this Kapex has been upgraded in a very long time. So I'm excited to see what kind of differences we see there. I also found a new kind of a table saw that maybe you could drop into a bench if I'm reading that right. It doesn't look like a table saw, but it could be a continuation of the table saw that they released earlier this year as well. Now there was a press release on this in October, so I think this is coming very, very soon. If you're working inside a house or a room or anything where you need to filter out that fine dust where you're working, you're going to be able to take this Systainer-based system in there to be able to help collect that fine dust, help purify that air. I think it's going to be really great for those who are working in small spaces. Even if you're in a small workshop, I can see this beneficial, much like this right here, like the Laguna that I have there. But it's just going to be a small, compact thing. I think it's going to be huge for those in small spaces. I also found some indication we may see a new sander model from Festool, possibly in that Rotex line, as well as a new track saw. Again, I think they come out with a couple of new track saws in 2024. I think we'll see at least one more in 2025 based on what I'm seeing. Now, a couple of honorable mentions here that you need to keep an eye on, and that is the new technologies that are coming similar to what Harvey's doing with their anti-rust or their stainless tops. You're going to see that come out with Rikon. I talked to them at the trade show, at Woodcraft Trade Show, back in June of 2024. This is coming in 2025. This top is black and it's going to prevent rust because of the coating they're using. It's supposed to not scuff off of there. It's supposed to be just a better option than cast iron. That way you don't have to worry about rusting. Jet is also doing the same thing. I think you're going to start seeing that roll down into other tools as well. They already have it on a few of their tools. It's called Jet Black. And it's that same, very similar jet black technology that you see there. Also, KREG, keep in mind, they come out with the Mortise Mate this year. They come out with a couple of other products. But I think what you're going to see in 2025 is a new pocket hole jig. They come out with a 720 Pro a couple of years ago. I wasn't a huge fan of that. I like the holes that it drills. It drills really nice, clean holes, but I felt like it was just flimsy overall. I think by far the K5 is the best pocket hole jig that KREG ever made. Personally, I love that jig. I still have it. I think they're going to do an upgraded version of that based on this patent that I found. I think this new version has an upgraded clamping mechanism. It looks a lot like the K5 with a beefier clamp. I think that's one of the main problems they had out of the K5 was that clamp would fail from time to time. I think they fixed that. I think this K5 2.0 is going to be coming out in 2025, and that's going to be huge for pocket hole fans. If you can't tell, I am very excited about the future of power tools, especially in woodworking. I love this stuff, y'all. I do. I'm passionate about it. If you are too, let me know what you want to see coming in 2025. If you like this video, you got to check out that video right there. Click in that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump. Seriously, I'd appreciate it if you hit that and subscribe.